Welcome back to Chilling Fireside Stories, where we explore the darkest corners of real-life crime, paranormal events, and the mysteries that keep us up at night. Before we dive in today, I want to take a moment to thank you for joining me on this journey. Your support means everything. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell icon, and share these stories with your friends, because it's your engagement that allows me to keep these fireside tales burning. Now, as always, I'd like to warn you that today's story deals with disturbing themes, including the abduction and murder of a young woman. Viewer discretion is advised. Today, we're going to cover the heartbreaking case of Holly Bobo, a 20-year-old nursing student from Tennessee who went missing in 2011. For years, her disappearance baffled law enforcement and tormented her family. But as the investigation slowly unraveled, shocking details about her fate came to light. This is the story of a family's worst nightmare, a community's search for answers, and the dogged pursuit of justice. As we explore this tragic case, we will delve into the various aspects that not only highlight the pain experienced by Holly's family but also showcase the resilience of a community determined to uncover the truth. So gather around and let's light the fire on this chilling tale. Holly Lynn Bobo was born on October 12, 1990, in a small, close-knit community of Darden, Tennessee. She was the daughter of Karen and Dana Bobo and had an older brother, Clint. The Bobo family was well-respected and active in the local community. Holly was a sweet, determined, and intelligent young woman with a bright future ahead of her. She was studying nursing at the University of Tennessee at Martin and had dreams of helping others, much like her cousin, country music singer Whitney Duncan. Living in rural Tennessee, Holly and her family were accustomed to the peace and quiet of small-town life, where everyone knew each other. The Bobo household was a picture of normality. They attended church regularly, and Holly was known for her smile and warm heart. Her close-knit family was her world, and she was adored by friends and the people in her community. Friends described her as friendly, hardworking, and dedicated, traits that made her not only a beloved daughter but also a trusted friend to many. She enjoyed outdoor activities like hiking and fishing with her family, which made her disappearance even more shocking to those who knew her. Holly's academic pursuits in nursing were inspired by her desire to care for others. She often volunteered at local health clinics, where she connected with patients from all walks of life. Her nurturing nature was evident in her interactions with friends and family, who often turned to her for advice or support. As her family watched her thrive, they couldn't have imagined that their lives would soon be forever altered. It was a regular morning on April 13, 2011. Holly, who was preparing for an exam, was getting ready to leave for school when something went terribly wrong. At around 7:30 a.m., Holly was last seen by her brother, Clint, as she walked out of their family home with a man dressed in camouflage. At first, Clint assumed it was Holly's boyfriend, Drew Scott, and thought nothing of it. But when he realized something was off, he made a call to his mother, Karen, who was at work. Frantic, Karen urged Clint to call 911 immediately. The call to the police was filled with fear and confusion. As the minutes passed, the Bobo family realized that something horrific had happened. The camouflaged figure led Holly into the woods behind their home, and she was never seen alive again. The investigation began with little information, but it quickly evolved into a desperate search for clues. Clint later recalled that he felt an unsettling intuition as he saw the man with Holly, leading him to question whether it really was her boyfriend. This feeling would haunt him for years. From that moment, the world of the Bobo family was turned upside down. The search for Holly Bobo began almost instantly, but despite the efforts of law enforcement, volunteers, and the community, she had vanished without a trace. Local authorities immediately set up a command center near the Bobo home, while helicopters flew overhead, searching for any signs of Holly. As the sun rose higher, the anxiety and dread in the air thickened, knowing that time was of the essence. The disappearance of Holly Bobo sparked one of the largest search efforts in Tennessee's history. Hundreds of volunteers joined forces with law enforcement, scouring the woods and surrounding areas in hopes of finding any clue that might lead to Holly's whereabouts. Search dogs were deployed and helicopters buzzed over the thick woods. Posters were plastered everywhere, and her face appeared on television screens across the state. Friends, family, and strangers all hoped that Holly had simply been abducted and would be returned safely. But as days turned into weeks and weeks into months, hope began to fade. While small bits of evidence were found, such as a lunchbox, hair ties, and pieces of her belongings, they led investigators nowhere. Holly Bobo had simply vanished. The volunteers worked tirelessly, often risking their safety to search treacherous terrains, determined to find any trace of Holly. As the search expanded, so did the community's commitment to finding Holly. Local businesses and organizations organized fundraising events to support the search efforts. Rallies were held to raise awareness about Holly's case, and thousands of flyers with her image circulated throughout Tennessee and neighboring states. The community's collective anxiety heightened with each passing day, and the once quiet town became the epicenter of a national story, drawing attention from across the country. For the small, tight-knit community of Darden, Holly's disappearance was a blow. People were frightened. How could a young woman be taken in broad daylight from her own yard, and no one knew anything? The fear spread quickly. Residents began locking their doors, a habit that was once foreign to many in the town. Everyone was on edge, knowing that a predator could be lurking in their own backyard. Local media covered Holly's case relentlessly, and her face was everywhere. Friends held vigils and prayers, clinging to the hope that Holly might still be alive. But as time passed, the weight of uncertainty became unbearable for the Bobo family. The community's fear manifested in various ways, with increased reports of suspicious activity and heightened vigilance among residents. Parents began to accompany their children everywhere, and school officials organized discussions about safety protocols for students. Holly's family found themselves in the heartbreaking position of mourning while still hoping for her return. The Bobo family made countless public appearances, sharing Holly's story with the world. They attended vigils, spoke to the media, and advocated for their daughter, urging anyone with information to come forward. The emotional toll of the search weighed heavily on them, especially as the days turned into weeks without answers. It wasn't until years later, in 2014, that a major break in the case came through. A man named Zach Adams, who had a reputation as a violent drug addict, was arrested for Holly's kidnapping, rape, and murder. Adams had been on the police radar for some time due to his criminal background, but it wasn't until a friend of his came forward with critical information that he became a prime suspect. According to witness statements, Adams had bragged about the abduction and murder of Holly Bobo. The details were chilling. Law enforcement began piecing together evidence that connected Adams to the crime scene. Soon it became clear that this was no random act of violence. Holly had been targeted. During the early stages of the investigation, detectives were overwhelmed with tips and leads, many of which led to dead ends. But the breakthrough came when Adams' acquaintance Jason Autry provided crucial testimony that linked Adams to the crime through the testimonies of other individuals involved, including Jason Autry, who became a key witness. Authorities pieced together the events of that day. Autry provided crucial details about how Adams had abducted Holly, and he admitted to helping Adams attempt to hide her body. His testimony, along with physical evidence and witness statements, was instrumental in securing a conviction against Adams. As the investigation gathered momentum, police began to dig into Adams' life. They discovered that he had a history of violence and substance abuse, often leading to dangerous encounters. His lifestyle and associates painted a dark picture, suggesting that he was deeply entrenched in criminal activity. This history would play a vital role in the unfolding investigation, revealing the type of person who could commit such a heinous crime. Zach Adams, born and raised in the same region as the Bobos, was known for his violent temper and drug-fueled outbursts. He had a long history of run-ins with the law and a reputation for getting involved in the darker side of life. His violent tendencies and erratic behavior made him a dangerous individual. At the time of Holly's disappearance, Adams was deeply involved in the local drug scene, where he often associated with people who had similarly criminal pasts. He had been accused of violent acts in the past but had always managed to avoid long-term consequences for his actions. However, Holly Bobo's case would be the one that finally brought his reign of terror to an end. Friends and family described Adams as a volatile person, someone who could easily lash out without provocation. As investigators began to unravel the case, they realized that Adams's violent history and connections to other criminals could provide them with the key to understanding what had happened to Holly. Witness testimonies painted a picture of a man who thrived in chaos and violence. Reports suggested that he was present at several parties during the time of Holly's disappearance, where he exhibited aggressive behavior towards women. The investigation uncovered a disturbing pattern of Adams's interactions with women, adding layers of complexity to the case. Law enforcement officials were determined to build a strong case against him, as they sought justice for Holly and her grieving family. What exactly happened that day and how Zach Adams kidnapped Holly? On the morning of April 13, 2011, around 7:30 a.m., Holly was preparing to leave for her nursing classes at the University of Tennessee at Martin's Parsons Center. Her mother, Karen Bobo, had already left for work, while her father, Dana Bobo, was out turkey hunting. Holly's older brother, Clint, was home asleep but woke up around the time of the abduction. Holly was outside, getting ready to leave for school, when a man approached her in the carport area near her house. The man was later identified as Zach Adams, a local with a history of violence and drug involvement. Holly's brother Clint heard voices outside and looked out the window to see what he initially thought was Holly arguing with her boyfriend. Clint believed Holly was speaking to someone she knew and did not immediately recognize the danger. He saw the man dressed in camouflage, leading Holly into the woods. Clint didn't realize that his sister was being forced to go with the man until it was too late. Zach Adams, who had targeted Holly for reasons still not entirely clear, took her by force. He likely used threats to ensure she cooperated. Adams was seen leading Holly into the woods, where it is believed that she was placed in his vehicle. Clint, believing Holly was arguing with her boyfriend and not realizing the seriousness of the situation, didn't intervene. When Clint spoke to his mother, who called to check on Holly, they soon realized something was terribly wrong. By the time Clint and his mother called 911, Holly was already gone. A large search effort was immediately launched, but the rural wooded area made it difficult to locate her. The trial of Zach Adams began in 2017, and it was fraught with tension, emotions, and harrowing testimonies. The courtroom was filled with Holly's family and friends, all desperate for justice. As the prosecution laid out their case, the details of Holly's abduction became painfully clear. The evidence included witness statements, phone records, and DNA found at the crime scene, painting a damning portrait of Adams as Holly's killer. Adams's defense argued that he was being framed and tried to create doubt about the credibility of the witnesses, suggesting that their testimonies were influenced by police pressure. However, the prosecution presented overwhelming evidence, including the testimony of Jason Autry, who recounted chilling details about the night of Holly's disappearance. Autry's honesty in detailing Adams's actions was pivotal in securing a conviction, as he described the circumstances leading to Holly's murder in harrowing detail. In 2017, Zach Adams was found guilty of first-degree murder, especially aggravated kidnapping and aggravated assault. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The verdict brought a bittersweet sense of closure to Holly's family and the community that had endured years of uncertainty. Although they had finally received justice, the pain of losing Holly would never fully go away. The courtroom erupted in tears of relief and sorrow as Holly's family felt a glimmer of justice after years of heartache. In the aftermath of the trial, Holly Bobo's family and friends made it their mission to keep her memory alive. They launched the Holly Bobo Foundation, which aims to support missing persons cases and raise awareness about violence against women. The foundation also focuses on educating communities about safety and prevention, ensuring that Holly's legacy serves a greater purpose. Community support remained strong in the wake of Holly's murder, as people began to realize the importance of vigilance and cooperation when it came to safety. Holly's story became a rallying cry for others to speak out against violence and to cherish the safety of their loved ones. Local events in her honor, including 5K runs and awareness walks, were organized to raise funds for the foundation and to honor her memory. Holly's case also led to changes in local law enforcement policies regarding missing persons and sexual assault cases, aiming to prevent future tragedies from occurring. Through their grief, the Bobo family inspired many in their community to take action against violence, and they encouraged open dialogues about safety and prevention. In many ways, Holly's story became a catalyst for change, serving as a reminder that every life matters, and the fight for justice must continue. The disappearance and murder of Holly Bobo serves as a chilling reminder of the fragility of life and the importance of community vigilance. It underscores the necessity for effective communication between law enforcement and the public, particularly in cases of abduction and violence. Holly's family, through their unyielding pursuit of justice, taught us that even in the darkest times, hope can shine through when we unite for a common cause. As we reflect on Holly's story, we must remember that she is more than just a victim. She is a symbol of resilience, reminding us to cherish our loved ones and stay alert in our communities. The tragic events that unfolded in Darden, Tennessee, taught many about the significance of listening to one another and being proactive in addressing the threat of violence against women. Before we conclude, I want to remind everyone that if you or someone you know is in need of support, I've provided links to several foundations and organizations in both the US and the UK that offer help and resources for survivors of violence and abuse. You can find all the links in the description below. Please don't hesitate to reach out to these organizations if you need assistance. Your safety is the top priority. As we close this chapter, let us honor Holly Bobo by advocating for change, spreading awareness, and supporting those who fight for justice. Thank you for joining me today on this chilling journey through one of the most heart-wrenching cases in recent memory. Please take a moment to subscribe and don't forget to share this story with others so we can keep the conversation going. Until next time, stay safe and cherish those you love.